We're going to turn our attention now to a big story in The Observer that I think there's a rather large undercurrent bubbling on this in the world of journalism, isn't there? Effectively, Danny Taylor today writes about Ravel Morrison and his move to QPR, and effectively all the journalists sat down with Roy Hodgson this week, had lunch with him, talked about England, and Morrison, a name that came up previously, is not coming up at the moment. And the reason he left West Ham, apparently quite different to what we would all expect, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone's fairly familiar with Morrison's past. In the past, he's been a bit of a wrong-un, to put it mildly, but by all accounts these days, he doesn't drink, he doesn't go out to nightclubs, he's got a good diet, he's training hard. So why are West Ham so keen to shed him as he joins QPR on loan this week? Danny Taylor suggests that the reason is that Ravel Morrison has been advised to sign with the agent Mark Curtis, who has a very close relationship with Sam Allardyce. But not just advised once, advised repeatedly, and not just by Sam Allardyce, but also by the club captain Kevin Nolan, to the point that Danny Taylor says that Ravel is claiming it's brought up on an almost daily basis. And Ravel's grievance is that he wanted to go into training to learn and improve, not to have endless conversations about an agent he did not want to employ. Mark Curtis represents or has links with Sam Allardyce, Kevin Nolan, James Tompkins, Jack Collison, Matt Jarvis, Andy Carroll, Jussi Jääskeläinen, and the goalkeeper Adrian. And as Danny Taylor says, look through his history and there's a fairly astounding pattern of players signing up to him from Allardyce teams.
If he's successful, I don't think anyone would care, would they? If the teams go on and be successful, and that's a winning formula, he's got all these players. But it is unhealthy when so many players are attached to the one agent at the same club.
And if the pressure that Danny Taylor's talking about is daily, and you are somebody who has been given the opportunity to turn your career around like Ravel has at West Ham, that is an unwelcome distraction.
Absolutely, and the key thing here is that Ravel Morrison, if you've seen him play this season and you look beyond the headlines from the past, he is a top-class player. He is dripping with potential, and I don't mean any disrespect to West Ham, but he's not the player who would ordinarily be playing for them.
What do they say about Gold and Sullivan and their role here?
Well, West Ham have put this to the relevant people, and they strenuously deny it. Curtis, in fact, goes so far as to say that it's absolute nonsense. And yet, still, here it is. West Ham apparently looking to discard a very, very, very good footballer. And that's Ravel Morrison's side of the story, is that he's under undue pressure.
You know, he's on paper game.
Yes.
So he's not on any sort of long-term contract, so his contract is up at the end of the season. That will have a huge influence as well. And I think he's gone to a place now with Queen's Park Rangers and Harry, where Harry loves these players, the mercurial, who've had problems. He puts the old arm round them and tries to get a performance out of them.
Yeah, well, let's be honest, let's look at Townsend as an example of what Harry can do for a player's career. You know, a couple of months for Ravel Morrison won't do him any harm at QPR.
It might do, and there's lots of things that will come out of a story like this, a story which is more like a missile going for a letterbox first thing in the morning. It may well be that other clubs will now look at Morrison and think, oh, I thought it was his fault that he's leaving, and maybe bigger clubs than QPR will want to get involved with that. There are other issues as well. A month ago, there was a story in the tabloids about agents getting together to complain about one manager and his agent and the pressure that they were putting on players. Now the question will be asked now: are those two stories linked? We don't know either way, so that question's got to be put. Kevin Kilban, in his autobiography, which came out earlier this year, mentioned pressure from Allardyce and Curtis to sign with them. So questions need to be asked: has this been happening over a long period of time? Altogether, it's a bit of an awkward situation.